going on in the hospitals, what guidance you'd like to give us as families, for teenagers, for younger kids, what can be relaxed, what can't, inside, outside. Tell us what you know, tell us what we can do, and give us some good news, please.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I apologize for this like mosquito bite over my eyelid. It's a little weird looking. Mark, thank you, because you kind of set me up, because part of what I was going to say is sort of preparing people emotionally for the next phase. And I think you just drilled it down at how complex and how challenging and how quickly it changes this way and that way. You really have to be nimble. So thank you for being nimble at your school. And that's kind of one of the main messages here. So talking about COVID in general, we are again better than we were 2 weeks ago. And 2 weeks ago, we were doing much better than even before that. So the peak in New York City in regards to COVID was really early April. And then the peak in regards to this MISC entity, which we were seeing in the kids, occurred probably 2-3 weeks ago in New York. So they are still seeing cases in other states. And we are seeing a dribble of cases, but we were having kids being admitted to the ICUs 2, 3, 4 a day around 3 weeks ago. And now, it's maybe 1 or 2 a week. The good news is, in regards to MISC, it is treatable, and the kids are doing remarkably well. There are still some questions about it in regards to long-term issues, especially in regards to their heart and their, the blood vessels of the heart. But so far, it looks very promising in regards to the therapies that we're using and how well they are recovering. The Department of Health came out with a memo 2 days ago that was kind of interesting, but a little bit depressing or frustrating, because what it revealed to us was that in regards to the PCR and the swab of your nose, we know when you test, it's positive. It means that you have the virus. The thing that was confusing that they add, or not confusing, is a little bit challenging to understand, is you are at your peak of transmission. You are the most infected before you have symptoms. Once you have symptoms, the likelihood of you transmitting it to others starts going down. So you will still be testing positive. And we know that people can even test positive 6 weeks after they have their first symptoms. But it appears that basically 10 days from the day that your symptoms started, after 10 days, you really, the likelihood of transmitting the virus, even though you'll be positive, potentially positive, you're tested in the nose, the likelihood of you passing it is close to 0. So again, if you, get, COVID, after 10 days and 3 days after your symptoms stop, the likelihood of transmitting is basically 0. The frustrating thing about that is you are at the highest rate of transmitting when you aren't sick yet. And you don't know you're going to be sick until you're sick. And none of us are prophets, and none of us know when that's going to happen. And so that still only reiterates the need for masks, because the way it is transmitted mostly is, from human contacts. We've learned, and the CDC has mentioned this, contact with objects, not really as much of an issue. It's really, the human interactions. And even the touching, one thing that I was happy to hear, because I think I touch my mouth a little bit more often, it's much more the nose and the eyes than the mouth. So I know some people have been questioning, are masks still important? And based upon this data, 100%, because it is not like, it's not just those who are sick, who have to protect themselves. It's the people who are going to be sick tomorrow. And no one carries around, that scarlet letter that tells them, oh, this is what's going to happen in the future. So even those tests that we are doing where we're checking people's temperature, that's great. But if we had a machine that could check their temperature tomorrow, that would be better. So it just makes it still a little bit of a challenge. And that's why this is still perpetuating in a way, despite social distancing and all of that. So we covered the Department of Health, we covered MISC, social distancing. Yes, it's sunny. Yes, people are now getting together. Yes, I went to Central Park, the other day, and I found my little space and I stayed there with my family. And then we played our games in that area, and everyone was in their little pod. And that's what is going to have to be the next reality. So the next thing I want to talk about, and Mark kind of set this up, is as parents, what we have to do right now is prepare our kids. Because again, I've mentioned this before, it is not going to be a binary switch where, okay, now you can do whatever. Mark made it very, very clear that we are not going to be returning to a normal reality. We're going to be returning to a very bizarre, reality that seems very unnatural. And it seems more unnatural to the adults than it does to the kids, which is reassuring. But I think those conversations have to be had over and over and over again, because I can't tell you the number of times I've been hearing, oh, this is what SAR thinks they want to do, but there's no way we're going to listen to that. That's crazy. Well, if you don't follow the rules, SAR will close, right? And that's, Israel right now, unfortunately, had more COVID cases than they've had in quite a long time. I was on the phone with relatives over Memorial Day weekend, and they were reminding me, there's only 10 new cases. You guys in New York are crazy. Well, today there were 98 new cases, and yesterday there were, I think, 58 new cases. So it is going up as they open up their doors more. And that's what's going to happen here as well. And just like what may happen in Israel, we have to be nimble, because if the Department of Health and the Department of Education say, this is what we're allowing, that's what, SAR and the communities will do. But then it may change a few days later or a week later when they see that things are a little bit different. So that's the thing that we have to be really sort of emotionally ready and mature to recognize, is have those conversations with our children and have those conversations with ourselves, because it sucks being the parent to constantly say no, 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 no. But if you set those expectations, it will be more helpful for you and for your children. So it's very clearly, let me start over. Hopefully school will open. Very clearly, if it does, it will not be the school that you know. And certainly what was laid out 2 weeks ago was a plan that was completely sort of dystopian, but that may be what it looks like. I think that's all I have to say. Other questions?
Yeah, I mean, one question about this new stuff coming about surface transmission in terms of kids using jungle gym, kids playing ball together. Has the research on surface transmission changed or the guidelines?
So because there is less of a concern in regards to contact like those things, I think there probably is less of a concern in regards to, certainly with, soccer balls and things like that. And someone also had asked me a question about gloves. So I had mentioned this way earlier. Wearing gloves is only helpful if you take your gloves off. Insofar as if you wear gloves and then you're touching a whole bunch of things and then you touch your face and your eyes, it's just like your hands. They don't serve any purpose. But since contact is probably less of an issue, gloves are probably not the most important thing. If you're weighing out gloves versus masks, 100 times more.
Swimming pools?
Swimming pools, right? So in regards to swimming pools, in regards to water, it doesn't seem to be an issue. In regards to contact, it's just, yes, you could be in a park together, you could be in a pool together, but the answer is always going to be social distancing. So it's still going to be 6 feet. It's still going to be, let me jump over you, let me swim near you, but not. So it still has to be, with that space.
I know that you don't want to be, so I'm going to try not to put you in this position. I know that you don't want to be the posek on this, so to speak. But the question's coming up, including in our own plans. And the community knows this. We sent out a survey on Friday. We got probably close to 200 responses within an hour about the possibility of summer programming, which we are looking into to the extent that we can be helpful. But we're also trying to kind of weigh the guidelines, as you heard from Mark and as you heard from Dr. Rocker. These things are changing by the minute and by the day. But kind of moving towards this concept of small pods, small groups of kids playing together. You know, again, I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but everyone's asking it. In terms of, you know, when school is out in 2 weeks and we want to move towards, you know, being able to do something with small groups of people, whether it's two families finding buddy families, which I'm talking about, or just, again, small groups of kids, the same small groups of kids getting together a little bit. Do you know where the guidance is going? Do you know how to?
So I think that when the guidance goes there, the guidance will go there. So right now we don't have an answer to that. We're going to get there, right? We're not going to stay like this. And what I should have articulated, and again, Mark, thank you. You did sort of mention it. Being in our "this is all bad, you must stay in your home" phase is actually easier, because I know what the rules are. I know what I can and can't do. And the answer is almost always no. So that's fine. But when we start blending some of the permission and the not permission, then it gets a lot more challenging. And the, you know, post-ec type questions, there's no, you know, clear answer. You know, it's the same issue with the virus. It spreads mostly from the mouth to other people who are close to you. That's the main issue. So when you can wear a mask and when you can stay apart and when you can wash your hands and not touch your face, that's what you should do. And then there's going to be small steps that we're taking. So yes, I think for mental health, you know, for multiple reasons, it is important that we start getting to that next phase. But we also have to realize when we get to that next phase, we may have to stop and move back a little bit. And if not, but we should also know, even though I said Israel may change things, you know, it may change things based upon a school district, we're not going to know sort of the whole public health issue for 2, 3, 4 weeks after we implement a change. You know, when they say this school is closing, okay, that may change because of a specific teacher or a group of people. But in regards to, was this a dumb idea to move forward the way we did? We won't know that for 3 or 4 weeks. That's just the way that growth works and the spreading works. So we're going to have to be nimble and be consciously, thinking of, we have to be paying attention to what the CDC and the Department of Health say.
Okay, I'm going to ask a very specific question because it just came up about visiting grandparents for short visits. Can the kids go inside, give them a hug or a kiss? Yes or no?
So wait a second. Social distancing. I don't know. Someone help me with this one. So no, right? So can you visit your grandparents? Yes. I went to my parents for the first time in 3-4 months yesterday. We social distance. We wore masks. We were far from each other. There was food, but there was food that was completely separated from each other. So can people get together? Yes, but you have to understand, older people are much greater risk in regards to the impact that this virus has on people. And I don't want to say something morbid. I'm going to say something morbid. The emotional complexity when older people die and family members think that they may have contributed to that is horrible, is absolutely horrible. And I don't wish it on anyone, but that is something that we deal with in the hospital frequently.
Okay.
So just don't put yourself in situations where it may get ugly.
I got it.
Yes, go make them happy, make yourself happy, distance.
There have been some questions about antibodies. I know that we mentioned a few weeks ago that we're working with, we're hoping to become part of a study affiliated with Columbia University on testing generally and on antibodies specifically. We are still working on that, and we hope to have information within the next week or two to be able to actually share with the community, specifically for the community, and to be part of a longitudinal study, which will hopefully shed light on the virus generally and help us in terms of getting the information that we can have. Josh, I'm gonna end with one, and I know we did it, but a lot of people are asking for clarification. So the question is, did you say that we can play ball with each other? Did you say that we can go in a jungle gym even if it's not disinfected? Did you say that?
So again, I think if you're doing the letter of the laws, they're probably going to say, in regards to soccer balls and things like that, I don't think it is much of an issue personally. But I'm going to toe the line and say, the CDC would probably not recommend that. Just like Mark was saying in regards to passing balls here and there. But I think we also recognize the CDC is also saying that we don't think that there is as much of a concern in regards to transmission from objects. So if there is significant distance between people, that is important. That's the main thing that you have to keep in mind.
Got it. Thank you, Mark. If you're not sleeping over there, when you have the groups of 10 in a classroom, and I know there's 6 people, are you assuming that they're always socially distant from each other, or are you kind of?
Yeah, the older kids were social distancing. I think that the younger kids, it was a lot more tricky, and we had to give cues and remind. But we were very strict about that. I think we've loosened up a lot in the last week and a half, I would say. Like we're at that week increment. But yeah, the social distancing was a big part of what we were teaching and doing in the school. And the desks and the space. We put arrows down on the floor. We tried to really teach them what 2 meters or 6 feet looked like. We made it a math lesson. We did as much as we could to make social distancing a kind of a part of that culture in the return to school.
Got it. Thank you. President Joel, Dr. Shinar, Dr. Rocker, and all of you, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, to our guests. And Rabbi Hartstark, we have 2 weeks is like the last Monday kind of the school year, right?
Yep, we're on 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from tonight, and hopefully we will meet in smaller groups and different groups and pass out information as we have it. Thank you all. Stay safe. Laila Tov. Speak to you soon. Thank you.